Welcome to K&G Educational Show Online, everyone. My name is Gissel Pestana.
And I am Kiara Julio, and in today's show, we're going to talk about assessment beliefs, and needs.
That's right, Kiara. So let us start talking about what assessment is. So assessment is more than grading. It is about measuring the progress of student learning with a variety of methods or tools so teachers can realize about the academic readiness, about skill acquisition and educational needs of students, which can be used as a reflection in order to improve teaching and learning process.
Yeah, so assessment could be defined as a process of gathering data to better understand the strengths and weaknesses of the students and their learning process.
Yes, that is it. But do you know what? It is known that there are plenty beliefs about assessment, especially from teachers. So those beliefs embody the reference to which teachers go to organize and make the consequent decisions that will guide the choices of teaching strategies and the responses to different concerns or priorities. However, sometimes such beliefs have become so rooted in the unconscious of teachers that it makes it difficult for them to recognize their existence, and therefore they turn to them as valid answers, especially when they are facing with unfamiliar or confusing situations.
Yeah, I agree. And beliefs cannot and do not pretend to explain reality, but only interpret it subjectively according to the context of occurrence and the urgency to solve some problems arising from the teaching process, which shows that school content, instruments, and evaluative practices are not neutral, not objective. On the contrary, they assume beliefs about what is worth learning and what is the correct way to evaluate the performance of the students, among other aspects.
That's right. So for today, we asked some teachers about their beliefs on assessment on our Twitter. Let's read some of them. So here I have the first one says, assessment is an instrument of control that provides objective information about the educational process. Okay, so I think this is kind of a traditional belief about assessment. Like it seems it privileges the correct answers and the performance of simple tasks. What do you think, Yara?
Well, I do think so. Actually, I have heard that there are teachers that think completely different. So they see assessment as an opportunity to take an introspective look at the teaching itself, guide and determine the course of the practices, revealing formative aspects of the evaluation process.
Yes, they actually emphasize understanding rather than reproduction, and they promote the possibility of building and constructing knowledge with students from what has been learned, right? It's completely opposite. So let's see another one here. Okay, another teacher says, I design open evaluation tasks to give my students the possibility of offering diverse and divergent answers. I think that's great. It privileges the creativity or analytical capacity of the students, but I think it is awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I used to have this teacher that thought it was important that assessment identifies the accuracy of the answers or the progress achieved in accordance with the prescribed objectives. And he only evaluated that type of knowledge, excluding the possibility of appreciating any other type of learning not previously contemplated. And let me say that was not nice and made me suffer a lot.
I'm so sorry for you, Kiara. And yeah, actually, that's a proof that sometimes these beliefs influence students' perspectives about assessment, and have profound effects on them. And some teachers do not think about it. For example, the poor development of students' cognitive skills, where students become mere passive recipients of information. So they must reproduce that information as faithfully as possible, thus constituting themselves as simple objects of planned technical actions, a situation that I think they resent. And that's why I consider that they start thinking of evaluation as a tedious and monotonous process.
Yeah, or Just like in my case, it can generate frustration or overcommon feeling as well, which has a great impact on the self-image that can be built, even that as a product of an evaluation process. I mean, an I don't know can be transformed into an I don't serve or I wasn't born for it. And in a positive sense, the I serve for it can be transformed into I work a lot or I was born to succeed.
Right. So that's why, dear audience, it is required to become aware of the importance of critically reflecting on beliefs to reveal the serious incidental effects that could affect students as a result of the implementation of poorly designed or maybe like biased assessment processes, since they really influence the development of students not only inside but outside the classroom, and also in the perceptions they create around the concept of assessment and its effectiveness.
Yeah. And here is when we start talking about evaluation needs. And it's necessary to identify the problems about it. Or we can also name them challenges. One could be, for example, the poor planning, because failing to plan for about anything usually results in poor outcomes. And the same is true when you are conducting an evaluation. Poor planning can lead to not having the right amount of time needed to conduct your evaluation and a lack of direction in what your outcomes you are hoping to achieve. And this poor planning can lead to not having enough resources or tools for your evaluation.
Yeah, and it will negatively impact the integrity of the evaluation and also leads to unintended consequences, right? I think another one can be a lack of readiness because if an evaluation is not seen as a priority, there can be a lack of buy in front of staff and stakeholders, like in the evaluation process, which can result in limited resources, as you said, or uncompetitive staff and an absence of understanding of why the evaluation is needed or valuable or important.
You're completely right. And as a result of that, we might find bad questions, like questions that are completely unclear and that use too much jargon that do not consider the audience, or that are biased in any way, or that do not have a clear and understandable method for participants to respond. So, or are problems that will open the evaluation process. Therefore, deciding on the right questions to ask to get you to like the result you're looking for, that is a key element of the evaluation process.
Yeah, and it is the same about ineffective approaches. Like, if you do not use the right data collection methods, you do not understand how to identify data properly and correctly. So you do not have a thorough understanding of outputs and outcomes, and or you don't not choose like the right evaluator for your project. And what's gonna happen? Obviously, you will not have an effective or positive evaluation experience, neither your students, of course.
Yeah, and it is not only about identifying problems or challenges of the assessment problem, but also when the needs the students have around evaluation and the external factors that affect the process. So what I want to refer is the context. As you know, there are many external situations that can affect students' development at school, and these factors can bring consequences on behavior, but above all, on knowledge acquirement. So therefore, assessment that is an important part of the process of evaluation and education.
That's true, Kiara. So I think that we agree that teachers have to concern not only like about internal factors, but about external factors that can affect assessment and what to do to solve those challenges so they cannot bring bad consequences on the process. But obviously, like this is going to vary depending on the context, which will be important to define what students need and what teacher must provide to them to fulfill those needs around assessment and in general, like in the whole educational process.
Yeah, of course. And about what you just said, systematization of the experience is really important because it is a critical look at our experiences and our process collecting constants. In this sense, it means an order in interpretation of the experiences as a whole, and of the role of or function of each particular activity within that set.
Yes, completely agree. Systematization is like a higher level of reflection than evaluation, although it is based on it, but it is a longer term than evaluation, and it is needed to look for the effectiveness of the work and calibrate it, the quality of the methodology and the subject matter participants and another aspects, and thus optimize like our work more and more, and it's like a high in educational work.
And talking with different teachers, it seems that what they systematize is the design and implementation of training programs or the effectiveness and use of the techniques and the role of workshop coordination and also the practical results that have been obtained with the application of the methodology.
Obviously, and what is good about it is that there are different ways they can use to systematize experiences, for example, like in a workshop through a control group like clinical eye, so they can critically see its development, or through the review of partial evaluations and follow-up plans, or maybe, I don't know, through the memories of each activity, like they can write comments, narrative, descriptive, that maybe critical, brave, orderly, enjoyable, timely, and that they could basically to synthesize like the reflection of the group. So it will not only provide like grades, but feedback to students and to teachers. So in order to reflect on the teaching and learning process and recognize what they can do better or what will help to improve the process.
Yeah, that's correct, Giselle. And this is a very broad topic and it has a lot of information that is worth reflecting on. In general, the evaluation in Colombia is something very difficult to level because not all institutions in this country have the tools or their resources to make this a fair process for everyone and for every student. So there are places where there is not even a school to attend, which is, it's a great failure on the part of the government and on the Ministry of Education. With this, I just want to say that to be able to speak with much properly about evaluation in Colombia, a lot of experience is needed in that educational field. Not only in the urban area where most of the institutions are well compacted, but also in the urban marginal area and the rural areas in which there are a lot of needs that have to be covered.
That's right, I completely agree. Well, unfortunately, time is up. So this is all for today's show. I hope we clear a lot of your questions or an assessment, its beliefs and needs, and also that our show helps you to reflect on those topics. As Kira said, it is a big, like, it is an extended topic, and you can search about it a lot on the internet. So thank you for being here with us, and we will see you again on the next week with another interesting topic about education. Remember that this is K and J Educational Show Online. Bye.
Bye.